Okay. Uh, Hopefully this catches everything and the things that I've been saying comes back to my mind. I have been just talking, like, thinking out loud, and the things that I was saying, I was like, hold on, I should be recording this, and I need to be more um, on it when I feel like, man, like when I get that nudge of you should record this, to just turn on the recorder, because once I start flowing, yeah, sometimes I forget what I was saying. So hopefully Spirit just bring it back to me. But yes, I've been just reflecting on my my new chapter, or what it feels like. It feels like I'm in a new chapter of my life. In so many ways, like things are still the same, but there's some differences internally, energetically, and eventually I know come physically, for this new phase, and then as well as we're in 2026, so there is an element of being in a new chapter just because we are in a new year. So um, we're a little over oh my gosh, my voice. We're a little over 2 weeks into the new year. So just reflecting on what this new year, or 2026, has been so far. And one of the things that came to me and that is coming to me is like how necessary it is to examine what my life needs, and requires of me, even in the midst of like going through the motions of life, like having to work, having all the different tasks that I have, that is involved with work, as well as, my health routine and my wellness, and, spiritual routines and home routines. There's so many things that we have to, basically juggle and manage. And if you are a parent, then you add on, the element of children and responsibilities as a parent, and if you're married, as a spouse, so, or coupled up as a spouse. And I don't have those two elements, in my life, but I do have enough to keep me busy, okay, and to keep me distracted, to be honest. Um, and one of the things I was just like reflecting on is how, like, my routines and regimens that once filled my cup to the point of overflow in the past chapter, now feels like it's, um, sorry if y'all can't, let me see it, hopefully y'all can still hear me, the heat just came on. But basically, like, the things that worked for me in the past chapter feels like it's not enough to have my cup run over in the same ways that it was previously. And one of the things I was just thinking through is like, if I'm not mindful, if we are not mindful, we could easily slip into the thought pattern of, well, there's something wrong with my routines, there's something wrong with me, or that fall into the trap of feeling inadequate, or feeling like you're failing to be in overflow of joy, of love, of light, of peace, of gratitude, because what you're doing and what you have been doing is not enough anymore. And then that thought just took me to a place of just imagining, um, a cup in itself, and the fact that we all have that a cup for ourselves, that cup of, that we feel emotionally and physically, spiritually, um, and mentally. And so, one of the things that I was thinking through is like the not just in two ways. Okay, I feel like I'm jumping ahead because I'm trying to think of what I remember what I was saying before, but also like so other things that come into me. So bear with me. Um, in two ways, just examining that cup, examining the substance of the cup, like what is being poured into the cup, as well as examining the measurement of the cup, the size of that cup. And oftentimes we could easily just pinpoint and think through what we're pouring in to our cups and miss out on examining whether or not the measurement of our cup is still the same. Like in the past chapter, the past life, you know, past routine, we might have had a smaller cup. We didn't have the capacity to hold as much. Um, so therefore, what we poured in was enough to overflow. It just made me think about 10 years ago, 2016, the Brende that I was then, you know, and where I was spiritually compared to who I am now. I didn't need I didn't need to pour too much in because I was so back then I was so codependent on other people to fill me that I didn't need to do as much to be filled, right? And oftentimes, and what we can do subconsciously, we don't realize how much we are relying on other people to fill our cup. That we think that the little we don't even think that we're putting little in, but we could run the risk of assuming that what others are pouring into our cup, we're doing it for ourselves. And so we could eventually take on the mindset that we are doing more than enough than what we need. And not realizing that, one, others are helping us pour into our cup. And that could be healthy, but it can also be unhealthy in the ways of codependency, being reliant on others to the point where you forsake doing things for yourself. Or not to say that that could be in physically or in all ways. There could be ways where you might be physically self-reliant, but then maybe emotionally you are codependent, or you may be um, emotionally like strong and stable within one yourself, but then you're spiritually codependent on others. You're spiritually codependent on this church to fill your cup, to make you feel like you are right with the divine, with God, if that's the term you want to use. Like, and then you're reliant and spiritually codependent on your pastor to make you feel good that you are on the straight and narrow, and that instead of actually doing it for yourself and going within and connecting to your higher source, higher power, divine God, you know, you you put that on everybody else around you. And that's, I can say, for me 10 years ago, that was me. I was so spiritually codependent on the church and the community and the pastors and the what I viewed or thought was my family spiritually, that once I started to question my faith, once my faith was disrupted in while in Japan 10 years ago, it made me realize several things. And I'm going on a different tangent than what I started, but we're going to let it be. It made me realize um, that I was more reliant on what my pastor thought and what uh, my church family thought, and what the community of people that I felt was like my family and my rock in a way. Subconsciously, I wouldn't have said that in that way, but yeah, like I was so reliant on people, others, to ground me spiritually that I wasn't putting as much in. And then I realized while I was in Japan that dang, the peace that I'm feeling in this Buddhist temple, I've never felt in the church. Dang, me sitting here meditating is filling me in ways that I never felt in sitting in prayer at a church or with the church family in Christianity. And so that made me start to question things like what is right for me? What is for me? You know, and through that started a it was a catalyst to many like small internal revolutions and wars within me of and like uprooting and upheavals for me, if you will, of thought and of action. And then I started to do the work myself because that also be, began a time where I started to the whole or the codependency I had on the church and pastors and community started to break because I started to no longer align in ways that once was conducive to fill my cup in previous years, in previous, chapter of my life. This chapter has ended, and now I'm in a new space with a new vessel, a new cup that has holds a different capacity, that holds a different. It needs something, a different substance, and it's yearning for something more than what it once needed. And slowly but surely learning, researching, going within, healing wounds, um, and sitting with the shadow side, my darker side, the trauma that I've experienced, and working through that, healing through that and those triggers. It started and learning different ways of healing and strategies that worked for me began to fill my cup, and practices that began to fill my cup. And those things then, some aligned with Christianity and some began to diverge from it. And also then the wrestle with the reality that, oh, what is filling my cup, it no longer aligns with those that I connect to. How are they gonna feel or treat me? And then that took me down a whole nother rabbit hole. And then eventually the break happened to where that separation became inevitable, right? Um, and it drove me more within myself to continue to fill my cup. So it's like oftentimes, or not oftentimes, sometimes we could unconsciously be so enmeshed with things that once was necessary or helpful for our survival, for our thriving, for our ascension, that now are becoming um, they're becoming hindrances to our our growth, our next ascension, where we're going to next. And when that break happened, I had to go within. And then it's all this began happening, that the me going within, because what ended up happening is I moved abroad, and then I just got like another type of community in a different way that I was able to, you know, in some ways, in a lesser form, than the community, the my church family before was able to fill my cup. And then COVID happened, and then nobody, I don't, I had, then I went home. I was already home. Then COVID happened, and I got stuck home, and that's when all the the wounds, the triggers, the trauma began to rise and be dusted off to be in became more illuminated, so I can begin to work through that. And then from that, going back to Korea the second time was very different than the first time. I was in a new city. I didn't make friends in the same way that I could in at the previous city I lived in. A different type of work environment, which brought different type of work schedule and workload, and also it's still COVID, so a lot of social distancing, which meant that it was just more time for me to go within. And I feel like some people went through COVID in the lockdown and they were able to blossom through it because it gave them the time, the space, the opportunity, if they looked at it in that way, to grow, to heal, to evolve. And then for some people, it drove them into depression, or it drove them into, even if you could ascend even going through depression, if it depends on the mindset and how you rise and if you rise out of it. But like it drove them more into habits maybe that would be more self-destructive in the long run, right? But for me, I it drove me more within myself in learning who I am, learning what I like, what is right for me, and also what fills my cup and what keeps it not just filled, because we can fill our cups halfway, right? We can fill our cups 75%. We can fill it all the way to the rim, and the substance stays just in the cup. But to fill it to overflow, that means it's a constant generating, like constant flow of of substance of what you need being poured into it to where it's overflowing. Fountains cannot overflow without a steady stream of water. So that is the same thing with our cups. It has to be in an overflow so that we can continue to flow and be filled without having being in lack because we are giving to others, or being our energy is being depleted through just normal mundane day-to-day life, right? um I am on so many tangents, and I hope if I do post this or upload it somewhere that y'all, whoever listen, can understand, and you rock with the waves, okay? All right. But back to what I was saying, like I needed that time to myself because I needed to become sure and confident in my authenticity of what is right for me so that I can then align to my highest self and evolve to the person that would be the version of me that is best for myself, not just for myself but for others as well. Um, and so um, I said all that to say I'm in this new phase. Back to what I was trying to say to begin. I'm in this new phase, and I'm realizing that, man, the cup that I had 10 years ago was very small. The cup that I had 5 years ago was bigger than the previous cup. The cup that I had last year was pretty big. It was, it was a good size. And now I'm realizing, dang, I'm in a new year. I'm in a new, not just, it's not about the new year. I'm in a new phase of my life. I'm in a new chapter. I'm in a new mindset. And therefore, the size of my cup, I have measured my cup, and my cup is big. It's bigger, and the what I've been putting in is the same as what I was putting in the previous cycle, the previous phase of my life, and what I was putting in that cup made it overflow. But in this cup, it's getting it to 75%. And I needed to get to the overflow. Okay? Because if I'm not overflowing, like I just said, then I am not in the, I have not reached the capacity in which I am able to freely give and be generous with my love and be generous with my joy, generous with my light, because I am not in a space and where I have it flowing freely from me. I feel like we get so used to giving from half full cups that we don't realize that this cup could actually take in more if we allow it. It's kind of like I'm just thinking about literally drinking something, right? If I had I had champagne, and I got this champagne in this nice beautiful crystal glass or whatever. This is gorgeous. It's heavy. It has the capacity to take in more of that champagne. But if I am not mindful, I could just easily be okay with just a little bit, you know, because that's all that in my mind I think that I can take. Not realizing if you want a champagne tower or fountain, that thing gotta be flowing constantly so that not just your cup overflow, but the cups you flow into can overflow as well, you know? And I feel like all of the things that we do in our life, the people that we have and we connect to in our life, they all have cups too. And the main cup that we should be flowing into is the cup within us, so that our overflow can flow generously to those other elements and aspects and cups within our life. If you got kids, you got a spouse or a partner, you got a family that you're caring for, relatives, you got work, you have personal things within yourself and goals or dreams for yourself, all those things have to be filled. And who's going to fill it? It ain't going to be somebody outside of you. You got to do that. And so you got to continue to flow into yourself and generate what it is that you need, the substance of what you need to keep your cup in overflow. And the moment you stop, the moment your overflow stops too. Like you got to keep that going. Um, yeah, you got to keep it going. And you also have to be mindful, like, man, I'm flowing. I've been going at the steady rate that I'm with the same, amount of pressure that I've been putting out in the previous time. I've been doing that, and it's not enough. But just imagine you trying to fill a bucket of water, and you got your faucet just on a small stream. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot, and a lot of time, a lot of effort. That thing ain't gonna fill. It's not gonna overflow for a long time. But that small um small stream of water flowing out the faucet. Maybe it would have been working well for a small cup, but now you got a bucket to fill. So you need to turn up the pressure. You need to turn the valve and release, allow more to flow out of you or flow into you actually, so that you can flow out in abundance. Um, yeah, I hope this makes sense. Like it just makes me think, okay, just think about when it's freezing outside, right? And they tell us that, you got to drip your faucets so that the pipes don't freeze. But imagine you trying to fill up a whole like bucket, or imagine trying to water a plant with the drippings of this drip faucet. It's one drip at a time. That plant gonna be thirsty, okay? Because that it ain't enough. You need more water. You need more. You need to turn up the valve and turn up the pressure. Bring it on. Put more into it, and not look at it as a bad thing. Like, dang, why does plant need more water? But as a good thing, like, wow, I have the capacity to take on more. I need more. Man, I'm growing so much that the amount of of nourishment that I needed to put in for myself and before ain't enough. Like I need more. Like man, like that's exciting. I'm telling myself this. Like I'm hyping myself up in this moment. Like Brenda, you need more. Like you need to go in. You need to go harder. Let's double down on what you've been doing. What you was doing last chapter. Let's 3x it, 10x it, because you have the capacity. You have the space for it. It makes me it makes me think of where I lived this time last year compared to where I'm living now. Man, man, I was trying to love on myself and learn and grow and create and heal all within one room. And now I have many rooms to do that. And I could get up and be like, oh man, I gotta do this for this room and this for that room. I gotta put this in, I gotta fill this room up with this. I gotta fill this room up with that. Trying to, furnish my home. I gotta get this, I gotta get that. But then it's like, wait, hold up. Let's run that back. You get to fill this space. You get to take care of this space. You get to create in this space. You get to heal in this space. You get to heal more. You get to grow more. You get to evolve more in this space, because now this space has become larger. You have more room to grow. Your roots have more room to spread. That means you have more room to fly, to ascend, to heal, to rise. Man, I'm looking at my plants now, and I'm seeing how some of them are growing right now. I've been a negligent plant mother. We gonna work on it. But they're still growing, even with my negligence. They're still growing. My money tree is still growing. Okay, all right. My snake plants, my pothos, all of them, they are growing. But I'm also realizing that now they are growing, not too much of what I'm doing, because like I said, I've been negligent, but now they have the room to grow. There, some are in new pots. That means that they need new substance, or more of the substance that they once had. They need more soil. They need more water. Like I was saying before, they need more. And because of the more, because of the opportunity, because of the space it has now, it has more room to grow. The roots can begin to really spread out and get comfortable, right? And take in, absorb more nutrients. The leaves can can expand and create more photosynthesis that's going to be vital to this plant's not just survival, but it's, I like saying thrival, survival, thrival, you know, whatever. But yeah, like to be able to really grow it into its beautiful form, it needs the space and it needs the opportunity. And I'm realizing and I'm thankful in this moment that I am shifting my lens and not looking at how this week was not, or what wrong in the week, or what inadequacies that I may feel like I have experienced or um, observed within myself, or the day, and the work, or working out, but like looking at myself and realizing like, man, I'm in a new vessel, and this new vessel is requiring me to have a mindset of get to instead of got to. No, I I don't just gotta pour into myself. I don't just gotta take care of myself and my spiritual health and my mental health and emotional health and physical health and financial health and sexual health in all the ways, right? As a holistic person, it's not just I gotta do that. It's I get to do that. I get to pour more into myself. I get to expand. I get to heal. I get to learn about myself. I get to love myself even more. And in doing so, the byproduct, or the results of me getting to do all these things and choosing, I'm talking about chosen life, choosing to do all these things, results in that others around me get to experience and relish and partake in the joy that I get to pour into myself, the love that I get to pour into myself, the peace, the patience, the kindness, the temperance, the endurance, the resilience, the forgiveness, and the grace. Mm. Yeah, thankful. All right. I think my stream of thoughts is uh, it's come to an end, I think. If not, then I'll just push play again. And y'all gonna hear my voice. It's a little nasally because I came off of, being sick with the flu. And but I'm alive and well. Um, man, till next time. Choose love, choose joy, and choose peace.